Jazakallah khair, Khizr. Now I would like to start our today's session, the launch of State of the Global Islamic Economy Report, Pakistan Launch. We are very lucky that we have our respected guests who are present physically over here in IBA Karachi, and also we have the people who are watching us online. I would like to welcome our online MC, Ms. Sameen, and all the guests for the launch of this report. To start our today's session, I would like to request our Executive Director, Professor Dr. Syed Akbar Zaidi, who is a renowned political economist with an experience of over 36 years of teaching and research, not only in Pakistan, but with the World International Reputed Organization. Over to you, sir. Please give a round of applause to Professor Dr. Syed Akbar Zaidi.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one lady, but ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the IBA. It's a great pleasure to welcome all of you here. बहुत शुक्रिया आप लोगों का आए. His Excellency Mr. Abdullah Alawar, CEO of Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, Dr. Ishat Hussain, my predecessor, also an economist and now advisor to the Prime Minister on Institutional Reforms and Austerity, who is also the chairperson of the Center of IBA-CEIF at the IBA. Welcome to all of you. It's a great honor and privilege for the IBA to launch the State of the Global Islamic Economy Report 2020-2021 at a time where the Muslim world, the Islamic economy has been growing by all indicators that we have. The report covers a very extensive field of at least 7 key areas, from halal food to halal cosmetics, including Islamic finance, I think, which is a very major field in Islamic and Muslim in the Islamic and Muslim world. At the moment, the Muslim population of the world is about, I think, 1/3, slightly less than 1/3 of the global population, and as the economies have grown, has also become much stronger over the last many years. In Pakistan, as some of you would know, the Islamic banking sector has been expanding and has been one of the fastest growing sectors in the financial sector in Pakistan. And I think it's not going to stop at where it is, maybe 16-17% of the market. I think there's every indication that it's going to go to 22-23% over the years. As you know, there's some banks are now shifting entirely, almost entirely, to Islamic finance, and I think that's both demand and need by Pakistanis and a global phenomenon. A little bit about the IBA, the Institute of Business Administration, and what we've been doing. The Center for Excellence in Islamic Finance, CEIF, was set up in 2015 with the help of the State Bank of Pakistan to promote Islamic banking and finance. And Dr. Hiram is also from the State Bank of Pakistan and working at the IBA, and very glad that we've got her and other faculty members here. The center is now working to promote Halal Economy, Islamic finance at the IBA. The CEIF and the IBA launched its Master's MS in Islamic Banking and Finance in 2017. And it's very interesting, even if you go to non-Islamic banks, one of the things that they keep telling us is that now, with the interest in Islamic finance, Islamic banking, all BBA graduates, all MBA graduates, all those who want to work for the financial sector need to know about Islamic finance. So I think what's happened is that now the footprint of Islamic finance has become so wide, so extensive in all business schools, that if the IBA and other business schools do not at least inform their students about Islamic finance and its methodology and the basics of it, I think we're losing out, because a large number of our graduates go to the banking sector and they go to the financial sector, Islamic or whatever it's called, non-Islamic, but there's now a growing need for information, ideas, knowledge about Islamic finance. And I think that's something that the IBA needs to expand in its entire MBA and BBA program. The IBA-CEIF provides trainings to industry professionals, Sharia scholars, and board members of financial institutions. Lately, the center conducted seminars on halal food and research on halal industry, prospects in Pakistan and something that's continuing. The first Islamic Finance Country Report of Pakistan was published by IBA-CEIF in collaboration with IRTI and Thomson Reuters in 2016. The first NBFI, Non-Bank Financial Institution, and Mudarba Sector Country Report 2020 will be launched next month. The report is written by IB-CEIF and NBFI and Mudarba Association of Pakistan. So I'd like to welcome all of you to this launch and to the discussion that takes place. And thank you all for being at the IBA. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite our second speaker for today's session, who is going to give his welcome remarks, Mr. Asad Sajjad, CEO, Halal Development Council. Mr. Asad is famous because of the development of world's halal leading event organizer, the Gulf Halal Center, the first halal body in GCC, and is also the founder and chairman of FPCCI Standing Committee on Halal. A Halal agenda promoter since 2018, propagating the importance of halal compliance and the power of halal branding as a tool to enhance economic growth in OIC countries. Over to you, Asad.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Time mujhe bahut short diya gaya hai, so I'm going to be very fast. And I request you all to please pay attention so we don't miss out. So my name is Asad, as I've been introduced. I'm representing the Halal Development Council, which is an NGO since 2009, working in the MENA region for the development of halal economy and promotion of halal as an international brand. Our research shows that the multi-trillion-dollar halal economy in the world is dominated by the OIC, non-OIC countries. And the OIC countries, the Islamic countries, must realize the importance of maintaining the halal compliance and the power of halal brand to get any benefit from the halal economy and to get the economic growth for their countries. Halal, ladies and gentlemen, is not limited to slaughtering only. It includes all the food products, beverages, non-food products, and also a wide range of services. Global halal market is huge. The 2019 research of the Islamic Economy Report, which you will hear later on, it confirms that 1.9 billion halal consumers, the Muslims primarily, spend more than $2 trillion on halal product sectors in 2019. And this is a trillion with a T, which includes a variety of sectors: halal food, pharma, halal cosmetic, modest fashion, which is the Islamic fashion, halal tourism, media, and recreation. The biggest producers and exporters of halal food products, non-food products in the world are all non-Muslim countries, starting from India, Brazil, Australia, USA, Argentina, France, New Zealand, Thailand, Philippines, and Singapore. They control the majority of the world's halal food and non-food production. India is the biggest country in halal meat, the non-cow, the buffalo. Australia is the biggest in meat, the cow's meat, which we talk about. Brazil is still the biggest in poultry. And unbelievable, but Thailand, a Buddhist country, is the biggest producer of halal non-food products. Last year's report, my own research, Thailand has more than 4,000 halal certified factories producing 200,000 halal certified products every year. That's a Buddhist country. The question which I asked myself, where is Pakistan? What is the issue in development of the halal economy, the billion-trillion-dollar economy in Pakistan? We are known as a Muslim country. What is missing? Why we cannot take our due share from this halal economy? So I put 2-point answer very quickly. Number one, lack of awareness. Lack of awareness regarding many issues. What is halal? What is the global halal market? I want to go into it. What products are required? Who are the buyers? How do I enter my products in this trillion-dollar halal market? Also, the importance of halal compliance, the power of halal brand for the halal consumers and the halal buyers in the world who buy this trillion-dollar, the chances of haram contamination in the non-halal compliant products. These are the major issues, and not to forget the concept of self-halal declaration. Kullu halal, everything is halal. It was true 20 years ago, no more. Nothing is kullu halal because of the contamination of haram. These are the awareness issues. But then the most important thing is to understand, the second point is the religious value of halal is supreme, as in Arab countries, they say Allah Rasi, on our head. We cannot even talk about the religious value. But all countries in the world who have reached the top of the halal economy have one thing in common. They all recognize the economic value of halal, the economic power of halal, and they use that for the economic benefit of their countries. This awareness, unfortunately, is missing in OIC countries and very much missing in Pakistan. Here, when we talk about halal, the first thing and the only thing we talk about is halal meat. We don't go beyond halal meat, which has to be corrected. Food is the major sector, $1.3 trillion halal food in 2019. Other sectors where we have to focus, halal cosmetic, very, very important, $60 billion industry. Halal pharma, $90 billion industry in the world. We are very strong. Halal tourism, Prime Minister wants to have a tourism destination for Pakistan. Halal tourism is $190 billion industry. They have to rebrand and target those consumers. Modest fashion, $270 billion industry. Summary of my presentation. Unless Pakistan the huge potential of halal market, we cannot use it for the benefit of our economic development. We can continue to sit and watch other countries prosper and thrive and take their share from the $1 trillion halal economy, and will continue like this. It has to be a private sector and government approach together. Private sector cannot do it. Government needs private sector's help. This is the end of my presentation. Council, DinarStandard. I thank you all for taking our time to join us in the launching ceremony of the State of the Global Islamic Economy 2020-2021 report. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Asad Saab. Now I would like to invite Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui, who is the Director of the Center for Excellence in Islamic Finance. Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui.
Respected Sayyid Akbar Zaidi Saab, Executive Director, IBA Karachi, Dr. Masmi Saab, respected Sharia Board Member, State Bank of Pakistan, my colleagues Asad Saab, Rafiuddin Saab, and all the participants, ladies and gentlemen, who have joined us here today physically or online. I'd like to welcome you and Assalamu alaikum from IBA-CEIF. Quickly, we are very happy to host this report launching at IBA-CEIF. Being the Center of Excellence for Islamic Finance is our goal and motto to promote and collaborate with the industries that are like-minded, that can support each other. As my colleague mentioned, halal is approximately a $5 trillion industry with a launch shares of 2.8 trillion by Islamic Finance. So Islamic Finance is one of the bigger component of halal, and it also connects all others. It connects the halal pharma, halal food, halal beverages, halal tourism. So every other sector also needs financial support in a Sharia compliant manner. So I'm very happy that today CEIF is also at the Center of Islamic Finance is providing a platform to all the players of halal economy to come to contribute, to discuss, to debate, and inshallah to take the opportunity forward. And IBA is always willing, and IBA Center for Islamic Finance is always willing to support. With these quick words, I'd like to thank you once again for coming to IBA, joining us online, and thank you very much, and I wish you success for the launch of this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ahmed Saab. Now I would like to request our guest of honor for today's ceremony, Mr. Abdullah Alawar, CEO, Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center, DIEDC. I would like to request the audience to please give a round of applause to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Abdullah Alawar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be with you today here to address you. Although it's unfortunate that we are unable to meet face to face, but I am very sure that this time will come soon, inshallah. And I hope you're all staying well there in Pakistan. It's our sincere pleasure to support the launch of the State of the Global Islamic Economy report today. As my distinguished colleagues have mentioned in their welcome remarks, I do believe the Islamic economy sectors are well suited perhaps to support both OIC economies, but also non-OIC economies, as we have witnessed over the past few years in terms of the development of their economic ecosystem. The multi-trillion-dollar industries that we talk about today, and we continue to talk about, do always shape the economic ecosystems of the globe. Going forward, especially what has happened in 2020 with the global pandemic, and what can happen, in the recovery of the post-pandemic era, I think the Islamic economy sectors are well suited, to help recover and speed the recovery path. I believe Pakistan has a tremendous amount of potential, given, of course, how the industry is growing, and also given the fact that the location plays an important role. And Pakistan today also have a very strategic location linking and bridging the East, with the West. So I believe the potential is there. I believe also the potential for enhanced trade is there between the UAE and Pakistan, given the Islamic economy components and sectors. I think 2021 definitely will bring out the key features of the Islamic economy and how the Islamic economy sectors can contribute to the recovery of these economies. Very excited about the report. We have done many launches this year for the report, and I'm glad to see that the launch is happening in Pakistan as well, which is an integral contributor to the Islamic economy, in my opinion, and shape up the Islamic economy. Having said that, I wanted to thank you all for attending the launch today, and I hope you enjoyed the interesting panel that will follow.
With this, now I would like to request our chief guest of today's session, none other than Professor Dr. Ishrat Hussain, advisor to the Prime Minister on institutional reforms and austerity. Dr. Saab is also founding chairman of IBA-CEIF. He's a seasoned banker. He's a seasoned award-winning economist. So I would like to request Professor Dr. Ishrat Hussain. Over to you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to join you on this launch of the very important report. I'm glad that we are keeping track of what is happening in the global Islamic economy. And this report is a very welcome addition, because there used to be a report by the Islamic Development Bank, IRTI, in conjunction with Thomas Reuter, but I don't know whether this has been now discontinued, because I haven't seen it for some time, although I was a peer reviewer for the first 3 reports. So I'm glad that we have another contribution in this. I'm also happy to note that the report has actually concentrated on a topic which is of significant economic and financial importance to the Muslim world, which is the halal market in the globe. But let me also suggest to the authors that instead of having a complacent and self-congratulatory attitude, we should look at the hard facts and place ourselves in what is really happening in this particular market and how the Muslim countries are faring it. I don't find any mention of the fact that 80% of the market share today of all halal products is held by Australia, New Zealand, India, Brazil, USA, Thailand, China, and Europe. So the Muslim countries really do not have a much large penetration in this market. And we should ask ourselves a question as to why this is happening. And this is a challenge which the report should have analyzed. And I think rather than having these kind of indices, which has become now a norm all over the world, that we have said that our countries are number one, number two, number three among themselves, but that doesn't benchmark you against your competitors. So I would suggest that they should take both in the Islamic finance as to what the asset base of Islamic finance is in relation to the global financial assets, and also what is the share of the Muslim countries in the halal products market. I had the opportunity on behalf of the Economic Coordination Committee of the Cabinet to review the Pakistan Halal Authority. And I could really figure out why we are lagging behind. And this is perhaps applicable to other Muslim countries also. My analysis of the factors which were responsible for our dismal performance, our share of Pakistan, by the way, is only 0.3% of the global market. So that's even very disturbing that 220 million people and we have only got 0.3% market share. Number one is the absence of a robust regulatory framework for hygiene, sanitation, food and health safety for halal products and meat, milk and allied industries, confectionery and pharmaceuticals. Halal quality standards acceptable to the main importing countries have not yet been developed. Number two, there is a lack of acceptable international standards on identification, traceability, validation, and verification, system of certification, quality control logos, and labeling, although slaughtering, processing, packaging may conform to halal products practices. Number three, shyness or reluctance on the part of industry players to expand into processing and attain economies of scale with distinct branding that would make Pakistani halal production in world markets competitive. Number four, the yields from Pakistani livestock animals are only a fraction of the leading international producers of meat and milk, while the raw materials for pharmaceutical products are largely imported from either India or China. Pakistan doesn't have even a single FDA certified pharmaceutical company. Number five, there's an inadequate supply chain infrastructure that consists of contamination-free cold chains, refrigerated trucks, storages at the airports, and in absence of this infrastructure, there is a general reluctance by the importing countries to accept products from Pakistan. Number six, the rising purchasing power is shifting the nutrition mix of the growing middle class from cereals and grains toward proteins, mainly in form of meat, poultry, and fish. Therefore, domestic supply is catering to the demand, and they don't have to go through the hassle of conforming to international standards, certification, and packaging, which add to the cost of sales. Therefore, the domestic market is more lucrative for the producers compared to the export market. Poultry industry today, for example, is growing 10 to 15% annually because the profit margins from the market sales domestically are quite attractive. Number seven, e-commerce and online trading haven't reached a level where the consumers and suppliers find it practicable, convenient, and cost-effective. We have witnessed some spurt during the COVID period, but we have to make extra efforts to nurture and develop this market of e-commerce in active collaboration of the government, regulators, and the private businesses. Number 8, skilled, trained, qualified manpower to operate and manage world-class halal products and industries are hard to find in Pakistan. Finally, the marketing efforts needed to introduce and penetrate their products by the entrepreneurs have been highly sporadic. This is the analysis which I carried out for Pakistan's halal products market. And my hypothesis is that these factors in varying degrees do impede the growth of the share of Muslim countries in their fast expanding market. So I would have very much liked this report, and I hope that in future, the authors of these reports would find this particular analytical framework to be utilized every year to gauge the progress which are made and identify what is really impeding the progress of the Muslim countries from taking part in this very high double-digit growth industry. And Muslims, as the report points out, are already consuming $2 trillion worth of the products. So it is very natural that they should buy from their own countries, which is the group of countries like Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nigeria, which have very large Muslim population. So this is something which needs to be pondered. We should not always remain very complacent and self-congratulatory, because the progress we have made is not very much adequate comparison to the potential and the comparative advantage we have. So I want to thank you for inviting me and listening to my very candid and very blunt remarks on this particular topic, which is of great importance to all the Muslim countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate that you have spared your time just for the launch of this ceremony and you accepted our request. Now I would like to request our Executive Director, Professor Dr. Syed Akbar Zaidi, to come on stage, and also Mr. Asad Tajjar, CEO, Halal Development Council, so that we can witness the first ever launch of this report. Please welcome Professor Dr. Syed Akbar Zaidi. This is the first ever launch in Pakistan, so please give a big round of applause. Can I request Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui, the founding director, to join on stage? I would like to request Mesmi Saab to come on stage for a group photo. Brother Raza, can you join on stage? The panelists, can you please come on stage? Rabia? Mr. Abdul Jabbar? Mr. Tawqir, please join on stage for a group photo. Gigi. The speakers, please come on stage. Mohammad Rafiq, are you here? If you're here, please come on stage.
एक second. Yeah.
If we can request ED Sab to hold this report.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We are very happy that we have so many online viewers who are watching the launch of this very report. You can share your questions, you can give your opinion on the poll. Now I would like to request the person behind this idea, the person who basically wrote this report, who led this project, none other than Mr. Rafiuddin Sheikhu, CEO, DinarStandard. Please give a round of applause to Mr. Rafiuddin, who is a wonderful person in a sense that always willing to take leadership position to bring change. So over to Rafiuddin, brother.
Thank you so much. My very warm welcome. Just confirming you can hear me, first of all.
We can hear you, we can see you.
Okay. All right, great. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to everyone across Pakistan and rest of the world who have joined this launch event, and especially honored to be participating at this Pakistan launch event in my birth city of Karachi. It's a tremendous honor to have had all of you join and hear this great perspective, including from His Excellency Dr. Ishrat and His Excellency Mr. Abdullah Lawar and other dignitaries from IBA. I'd like to begin sharing the key insights from this report, and it was wonderful to hear good critical feedback from Dr. Ishrat as well. And inshallah, I will address some of his points as well. But before we start, I'd like to start by sharing a video with all of you that summarizes the key findings of the report. Confirming you can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum and peace be upon all of you. The 8th edition of the State of the Global Islamic Economy report estimates $2.02 trillion of Muslim consumer spending across halal food, pharma, cosmetics, travel, apparel, and media in 2019. Islamic finance assets, meanwhile, stood at $2.88 trillion.
In the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, the report forecasts an 8% drop in global Muslim spending in 2020, with the travel sector being hit the worst and halal food faring the best. Spending is forecasted to rebound and reach $2.3 trillion in 2024.
The report covers special features on Gen Z views in the Islamic economy, successful women entrepreneurs, and 7 tech case studies accelerating digital transformation in the new normal.
The report's country benchmarking tool, the GIE indicator, ranks the most developed Islamic economy ecosystems. Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Indonesia lead the rankings among the 81 countries covered this year.
Investments in the Islamic economy totaled $11.8 billion in 2019-20, a decline of 13% over the previous period. At 54%, over half of total investments were in halal products, while Islamic finance drew another 42%.
Amidst the pandemic, our analysis shows that the Islamic economy is thriving in uncertainty. The report has identified 33 key signals of opportunities. In the lifestyle sectors, travel, tech, and online entertainment are the key signals.
In Islamic finance, while the sector struggles to bring back its double-digit growth days, accelerate digital transformation, and social finance and ESG aspects are driving key opportunities. These key signals include tokenization of sukuk and Islamic social finance.
In 2019, the global trade of halal food, pharma, and cosmetics was estimated at $200 billion, and the key opportunities area include food security investments, agri and food tech, and healthy food.
Thank you very much. And now to dive into the findings of the report, again, confirming that you can hear me first.
Yes.
Okay. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, we begin by thanking God Almighty for this opportunity to leverage this incredible area that as part of the global community, Muslims can contribute to, be part of. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the role that this report has been produced, by the way, for the past 8 years with the support of Dubai Islamic Economy Development Center as a global analysis and benchmarking of the overall Islamic economy sectors, 6 real economy sectors, as well as the Islamic finance. And to Dr. Ishrat's point, this report is in fact different from the one he was referring to, produced with IRTI and previously Thomson Reuters, which was focused on Islamic finance only. So this is a different report. And certainly to his other points, I'll be addressing them. I wanted to acknowledge also Salam Gateway, which is a news and media platform that is supporting us in the distribution of the report, as well as a design house called Studio and others. And most importantly, I'd like to thank the organizers of the Pakistan launch, Halal Development Center and the IBA-CEIF for hosting this important topic and discussion and intelligence in Pakistan's context. We have, since the past 8 years, and this year in particular, various global strategic partners of the report across the world, across OIC and non-OIC economies, and then certainly very strong growth from the OIC economies as well. You can see some of them across all of these sectors we cover. As Mr. Abdullah Lawar mentioned, this year we have launched this report in 14 countries and proud to be launching in Pakistan as well. It shows the growing significance, ladies and gentlemen, of this space. We have countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Nigeria, many that are hosting are actually taking this economy space very seriously at a government level, at a private sector level, and across all these stakeholders, obviously driven by consumers. Now, one of the most important things people ask, we have many academics, many of you are students in the audience, is how do you define this space? And certainly there are many different ways we can define it. For the purposes of our report, for the very clear scoping of this report, we have, since the launch of the report, defined this space as those sectors or those industry sectors whose core products and services are structurally affected by Islamic ethics and law. And so, and this is driven by their faith-based consumption needs of the 1.9 billion Muslim consumers worldwide. So with this definition, there are essentially 6 major real economy sectors that fall under it, as well as the Islamic finance sector. And collectively, these are the sectors of food, media recreation, fashion, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and travel that we've been tracking for the past 8 years. And many of you asked, there are other sectors such as education, philanthropy, and those are also something that we're looking to add to, but have been covering in one way or the shape or form. I won't refer again to the big numbers. You can download the report and the significant size of this market. But one of the key things this year, everyone is focused on is the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. And does this quote unquote Islamic economy, as we have covered in this report, how can it play a role in revitalizing economies and the impact on job losses and many other things that we are as economies challenged by. And what we see is that we expect towards the end of 2021, most of the sectors will bounce back. Tourism obviously was affected the worst, and the other sectors are also were mostly in negative, but there were also some silver linings, especially in the food sector, and even to a certain extent in financial services. Now, as Dr. Ishrat pointed out, and perhaps a good place to also share with you the country benchmarking tool we have in the report that ranks countries. Now, this indicator is based on the purpose of identifying those countries who have the strongest Islamic economy ecosystem relative to their size. And we look at 4 major components: financial impact, regulatory environment, awareness and education within the country, social impact, and we have 49 metrics that cover these 4 dimensions. And the analysis is also weighted by the size of the sector. So as you can see, we have Islamic Finance actually has a 56% weighting in the ranking, given the size of Islamic Finance, and then followed by 24% or so of food and subsequently others. Pakistan ranks number 8, given this methodology of benchmarking. And one of the purposes here was to encourage, and you can see non-OIC economies also very much prominent in this ecosystem, such as Thailand, Azerbaijan, and many other European countries, Spain, Italy, Sri Lanka, etc., given they're also a developing ecosystem. Now, Dr. Ishrat absolutely is correct in terms of where we are, and I'll get to the specifics of the benchmarking of OIC versus rest of the world, and specifically the opportunity that OIC countries have. In terms of investments, as my colleague highlighted in the summary video, $11.8 billion of investments were tracked in our report this past year. Majority, 52% in food, followed by 42% in Islamic finance. So you can see the significant role. And you can see Pakistan has had transactions when we look at the number of transactions and the size of the deals or the volume of the deals. Pakistan has had benefited from attracting FDI within these sectors. And it's an area that we see opportunity for FDI continue to grow within the OIC countries in particular. Now, moving on, and I'll go straight to the Pakistan opportunity, but just to summarize as a global report, amidst the pandemic, we have identified 33 signals of opportunities. And to headline them, two of the major things, or two of the major mega trends driving the opportunities going forward. One is the disruption of the global food and product supply chain. You can see that across OIC countries, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, others are looking to bring the supply chain closer to home with the motivation of food security as well as economic stimulation given the disruption. And an interesting fact, ladies and gentlemen, the top 5 exporting countries of halal products to the world or OIC countries are actually the top 5. They are, first of all non-OIC countries, by the way, including India. And they are also today the top 5 countries affected by COVID-19. And that has disrupted the supply chain, and that is creating some opportunity. The second big mega trend is digitization, the acceleration of digitization. And Dr. Ishrat rightly touched upon the importance of it. And we're seeing the opportunities across these sectors from digitization, from media to Islamic finance and all of the other sectors that we cover. All right. Now, most importantly, what I'm most excited to share with you is, to Dr. Ishrat's point, and also as His Excellency Abdullah Lawar pointed out, Pakistan's opportunity in this significant area, which honestly has been lacking from a material economic impact point of view. The strongest suit for Pakistan has been Islamic finance. Today, Pakistan is ranked number 11 when it comes to the asset size of Islamic financial assets. But yes, overall Islamic finance is a very small portion of the global financial ecosystem. Nevertheless, we benchmark towards those who are progressing and how can we develop within the Islamic finance ecosystem. Now, one of the other strongest areas for Pakistan is its own domestic halal economy before we talk about the export and the FDI opportunity that, or the export opportunity that Pakistan has. Pakistan, which is significant, one of the biggest Muslim populations, has $120 billion of Muslim lifestyle spend, covering the sectors of food, clothing, media, recreation. And you can see these three, the biggest ones globally. Now, I wanted to touch on this because this is an area also for FDI for Pakistan. You have tremendous amount of investments, as you saw, 11.2 billion just last year happening in these sectors across the geographies. Indonesia attracting the most, and Malaysia followed by UAE. And I think when you look at the food sector, which is 5th highest globally, or clothing, which Pakistan's very strong textiles industry as well has, and I'm quite proud of the brands such as Khadi and others that are actually venturing out. But you also have a very strong domestic market that can attract the investments, as well as media and recreation. And I know we're going to get to it, and I'm excited to have some of our Ms. Rabia, who's going to talk a little bit of the media side, but these are areas of domestic opportunity that also exist. Certainly tourism, Pakistan is way far behind, with only 210,000 Muslim tourists attracted in 2019 for many, many reasons. To give you an idea, comparatively, Turkey attracted 6.4 million Muslim tourists worldwide. So there's a lot of opportunity areas for Pakistan on that space as well. Now, when it comes to exports, Pakistan today is ranked 27th in the world in terms of halal products exports to OIC countries. This includes food, pharmaceuticals, cosmetics as well. And if you can see the top 5 or even top 8, 7, as Dr. Ishrat said, most of them are non-OIC countries. So we certainly do cover it, but we obviously want to highlight, and the report, by the way, is not an OIC-focused report. It's a global report, so you see all players, and it provides companies and stakeholders in Pakistan to look and benchmark versus the global leaders. And you can see India, in fact, is second, and I think, perhaps that could be another source of motivation for all of the stakeholders in Pakistan. So Pakistan today represents only 1% of the $255 billion of halal products that were exported in 2019. The report also highlights many developments that are happening. I apologize for the mistake. The headline says Turkey, but it is for Pakistan. We have highlighted players such as an Islamic Finance. And on the digital side, it's exciting to see the momentum in Pakistan. Gobi Ventures from Malaysia that has a Taqwa Tech, an Islamic-focused VC fund, has now partnered with Fatma Ventures. We have investments in Sada Pay, which is your mobile wallet. An exciting public listing IPO offering in Pakistan that happened this year with TOML. I think that's a very strong sign. And we all are familiar, and the report highlights the rage, the excitement and the viewership that Turkish drama serial Ertugrul got in Pakistan. And I think there is a question of how Pakistani content can also benefit from this opportunity, much as Turkish content is, and others from Malaysia are also doing so. We see some exciting development in terms of the travel market, and we've covered some of the stories, such as this VR tool developed by Labbaik, a startup in Pakistan. And from a regulator's point of view, Pakistan Halal Authority is starting to take leadership in enabling a strong compliance ecosystem. And on the finance side, SECP, we've covered, has approved the regulations for Muraba, share financing. So there's many good activities that are happening in Pakistan. I'd like to end by sharing with all of you where you can actually go and download this report. It's a 200+ page report, freely available to anyone, and to all of you. Please go to Salam Gateway, you can download the report from there. The other thing that we have to share with you is the, if I can highlight here, is the interactive dashboard that we have created this year as well, that you can actually navigate to Pakistan and see its activities or its role across the different sectors that we have covered. So with this, I'd like to conclude and thank all of you, and I'll pass the floor back to Dr. Iram. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Can you please switch on the lights? Thank you very much, brother, for your wonderful presentation and explaining all the concepts that you have done a very good research for the report. For the launch of this event, we have invited numerous guests, and I would like to welcome the Chairman, Sharia Advisor Committee of State Bank of Pakistan, Mufti Irshad Ahmed Ijaz Saab. We have the representative from various banks, Standard Chartered, Mizan Bank, Faisal Bank Islamic, and especially Mesmi Saab, and we have Asad Saab over here who already gave the welcoming remarks. With this, I would like to appreciate the presence of our online viewers. You are doing a great job in order to send your questions and your queries. We have received till now so many questions from the speaker that we are going to have for the panel discussion over here. And now we are moving towards the panel discussion. With this, you can write your questions in the chat box. Ms. Amin, who is our MC for today, online MC, she is viewing your questions, and we are going to answer your questions shortly. So now I am going to invite our panelist for the session, Mr. Mohammad Rafiq Rangoonwala. Mr. Mohammad Rafiq Rangoonwala is the President, Pakistan Food Association, CEO of Quick Food Industry, Monsalwa. 40 years veteran of food industry. He worked 20 years in international markets like USA, Caribbean island, and Middle East. Member of scientific panel, Sindh Food Authority. Previously, he was elected twice as President of Marketing Association of Pakistan. Please, sir, come on stage. Mr. Mohammad Rafiq Rangunwala. Our second panelist is Ms. Rabia Gharib, Chief Rapper, ToffeeTV.com. Rabia Gharib has been an entrepreneur in technology media since 1999. She set up Pakistan's first local technology bi-monthly magazine and has produced and anchored some of country's first technology shows for television and radio. She established Toffee TV with Talia, Zafar, an animator and entrepreneur. Please welcome Rabia. Our next panelist is from pharmaceutical industry, Mr. Taqeerul Haq, Chairman, Pakistan Pharmaceutical Manufacturer Association, MD of Sente Pharmaceuticals. Please welcome Mr. Taqeerul Haq. From the tourism industry, we have invited Mr. Abdul Jabbar, Executive Director of Dream World Resorts. Please, sir, join us on stage. And then, last but not least, we have the founding director of Center for Excellence in Islamic Finance, Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui. Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui, please join us on stage. Once again, I am very thankful to our online viewers for sending their questions and watching all this conversation. And now we will start our today's panel discussion. And I would like to start it from Rabia. Rabia, I would like to give you 1 minute to introduce your work, your institution, what you have done so far, what you want to share with the audience at large. Can you please pass the mic to Ms. Rabia?
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here, and greetings to my fellow panelists. Also, congratulations to DinarStandard, to IBA-CEIF, and Salam Gateway for the launch of the report. And Assalamu alaikum to all the audience. I've been in the industry as a female entrepreneur for the past, I think, 23 years. We started off in an area in technology media where nobody else really understood what it was all about. About 10 years ago, because my background was in content generation, we started focusing on children's content. Now you should be able to.
We can hear now, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the past 10 years or so, we've been focusing on children's content. Islamic content makes up a small portion of our content, but because it's a privately run venture, it's actually run by Talia and myself. One of the biggest challenges, perhaps if we get the opportunity for developing such content, is finance. Other than that, I've focused on media for, like I said, about 20 years. And I think not before the advent of COVID, did a lot of people, including the corporate sector, really understand the power of technology. And this is not just specific to Pakistan, it's everywhere else in the world. And as the opportunity arises, I'll be happy to take any questions from the audience and from online. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rabia. Now I would like to request Mr. Mohammad Rafiq Rangunwala, President, Pakistan Food Association, to share a few words about today's launch and his organization.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Rafiq Rangunwala. Okay, great. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rafiq Rangunwala, and I've been with food industry for the last 40 plus years. Started my career in Houston, Texas, and then over the period of time, I have worked in across the U.S., Caribbean regions, the English-speaking islands especially. Then to Middle East for 10 years. Started my Middle East journey from Cairo. Lived there for about almost 2 years, and then to Saudi Arabia and then UAE. I've been in Pakistan for the last 21 years. And all this time I've been associated with food industry. I have represented the marketing community as the president for 2 years. And then as also, I'm right now the president of Pakistan Food Association. We have members from all the international fast food chains, and also the exporters of halal food from Pakistan. We are ourselves as Monsalva brand, one of the exporters to various countries in the world. And to be honest with you, I feel there's a great opportunity for us as Pakistanis, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that during the panel discussion as well. And I think this kind of events are very much needed and welcome because I feel that there's a lack of understanding of the scope and the magnitude of this business in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Mr. Abdul Jabbar, Executive Director of Dream World Resort.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Abdul Jabbar from Dream World Resort as an Executive Director. Dream World Resort is Alhamdulillah running its business since 24 years. Alhamdulillah, we are trying our level best to run our resort on mostly on Islamic basis. We have more than 225 facilities. We have all the facilities for male and female, separate facilities. And further we will inshallah discuss in Q&A section. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to request Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui to share a few words about his thought process for the launch of this report and his institution.
Thank you, Ram, and I'm actually very happy to host all of you here at the Center for Excellence in Islamic Finance. And I feel that one of the main combining components of the halal industry or the combining chain is Islamic finance, which can provide the catalyst for all other markets to grow. And also my affiliation with Mizan Bank for last almost 19 years as a leading Islamic bank, developing new products, working with the industry, with the regulator. So I see a great opportunity, a great match, and if we can work together and obviously sessions like these where we can explore ideas, we can work and we can make the things happen for Pakistan, and I'm very hopeful and positive about the role of Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with this now we will move, over to you, sir. I just missed, I think, Tawqir Saab. Sorry, Tawqir Saab.
First of all, I would like to congratulate for the issuance of this report, which reveals lots of opportunity for us in terms of entering into domestic and export for halal markets. I'm Tawqir Ulat, Managing Director, Sante Pharmaceuticals, and we are into specialty pharmaceutical business, and we manufacture ophthalmic products, ENT products, rheumatology products, and other general medicine. And we are marketing not only in Pakistan, we are also exporting the products outside Pakistan as well. Currently, I am Chairman Pakistan Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association, and this association is a very important association because about 70% of the pharmaceutical market today in Pakistan is handled by national pharmaceutical companies, and there are more than 265 leading pharmaceutical companies and units who are under the umbrella of PPM. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tawqir sir. Thank you. So with this, I would like to start from Rabia. Rabia, the first question that I have for you is basically regarding the drama serial Ertugrul. The hit Turkish TV series has been all the rage in Pakistan. Could content from Pakistan's media be made relevant and exported to OIC markets, including Turkey?
It's a very interesting question and very pertinent. आपको पता नहीं अगर I'm sure आप लोग जानते हैं Ertugrul के बारे में, but just a few online stats will kind of blow your mind. I think there are more than 1.5 billion views on YouTube, just one channel. PTV, I think a few months ago or 2 months ago, reported an increase in sales by almost 40 crore just because of the viewing on Ertugrul by PTV on YouTube. Their subscriptions have increased. Just one entire institutional media has received so much of a boost from this particular content, which brings us to an interesting aspect about how content can actually pull demand. I explained in my introduction I've been working in online content since the late 90s. Now this is during the time of dial-up media. When we talk about content and we put something online, there has to be enough catch and enough attractiveness for people to be pulled onto it. Right now, Pakistan has about, I think about 78 or 18 million people who are जो हमारी internet penetration है मुख्तलिफ इलाकों में. By and large, this internet penetration is stuck in the urban centers. Rural areas, mein, it is slowly, that penetration will still take some time because of infrastructural issues. जब हम कोई content online डालते हैं, उसकी appeal क्या है? And content for the web is made is produced in the exact same way that content for television is made. The number one driving force is quality. Quality comes from production. Production requires big budget. The majority of companies that are now producing, including our own, are small scale or medium scale production houses. We try and resort to animation or live media, but it is still a big challenge. So unless and until you don't have adequate big budget allocated for the production value, that attraction will not happen. Coming to Portugal, so you have, it's a very interesting mix. You have Islamic history, which is being presented to people in almost an entertainment manner. Entertainment versus is that container that you put all content into. We do the same thing with education, but I tell you, we love producing content. We love teaching, I don't know, chemical compounds, the different names on the periodic table, or jo bhi aapki subject matter hai. We love putting them into songs. The production value has a cost, but there are very few buyers. So unless and until you don't have that one budget from the production side, and unless and until you don't have people who are willing to subscribe and pay for that, nothing will happen. A third force is also distribution channels. Except for PTV Smart TV, you have very few locally produced platforms jahan par aapka content distribute ho. So you will always be stuck. You are bound by Netflix or iFlix or some other platform that will actually allow you to distribute your content. Unless you don't have these three things there, there's very little future for all the content that is produced here. But there's a great deal of potential.
Thank you so much, Rabia, for your very comprehensive answer. Now I would like to request Mr. Mohammad Rafiq Rangoonwala. Sir, you represent a major food industry association in Pakistan. What specific subsectors do you think are Pakistan's strength and halal market export opportunity areas?
Before I talk about opportunity, in order to see an opportunity, you need to have a mindset. I think our problem is the lack of understanding of what actually halal market is. I think we all basically take it for granted that halal means halal food. It's more than that. That's number one. Number two, because of the lack of awareness that how big this market is and the magnitude and its magnanimous, we don't take it seriously, to be honest with you. And because of that, we have an attitude issue towards investment, because most of our businessmen or entrepreneurs, most, not all of them, want to invest today and get return yesterday. It doesn't work that way when you go into international market competing with giants. Okay. Then we have a government support issue. I tried to import chicken from Egypt, which is an Islamic country, and also looked at Malaysia, okay, at one time. And to be honest with you, Brazil was cheaper than Egypt and Malaysia, okay, because they have a lot of support. Now, I don't believe in crutches, okay, these things that comes in the form of subsidies and this and rebates and that rebate. The government needs to support industries, but based on merit, based on performance, not just to give them a handout that they take for granted. So if a company is, let's say, for example, exporting X amount of money, they should have an incentive to increase their export to get that rebate or that benefit, okay? Or they need to be only focused towards export, and the government will help them out. Like, I mean, why is India doing it? Okay, India is giving a lot of facilities to their exporters. That's why they are so big and they're huge. And look at their attitude. I'll give you a small example. Shining India is their marketing campaign to sell India as a whole. Okay, and that Shining India is going on since last 20, 30 years at least. Now show me an example of one such initiative from Pakistan. We need to get our act together before we talk about opportunities. The opportunity is there. We are not even 1/4% of the national halal market in terms of exports. I mean, our export has not even crossed 5 billion. It's a trillions of rupees market. Unless and until we change our attitude, we recognize the importance, and we strategize, and we work long term. Everything else is just talk. Thank you.
Excellent points. Thank you very much, sir. Excellent points. Now I would like to request Mr. Taqirul Haq, Chairman, Pakistan Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association. Sir, you have seen the current report, 2021 report, and Pakistan is ranked 33rd with $110 million in pharmaceutical exports to OIC countries, amongst the $38.7 billion total exported in 2019. Now, where and how can Pakistan pharma manufacturers focus to develop export growth to OIC markets?
Thank you. As you have said that about $38 billion export is to OIC countries, and our share is just $110 million. Before coming to the export for halal products, I would like to say that we are sitting at this point in time in an export potential area of $78 billion. And our export, total export of pharmaceutical products to international markets, including OIC, is just more than $200 million. And if you compare with India, India's export is $22 billion in 2019. So the huge potential is there in terms of pharmaceutical export. If you look at textile and, for example, other areas which are even exporting quite handsomely, but we should treat pharmaceutical industry as a new product which will bring not only revenues but the growth to export. Now, what is required? First of all, we have a detailed discussion recently with Prime Minister and the Ministry of Health, the special assistant to Prime Minister, that government should include pharmaceutical industry into zero-rated segment like textile, carpets, and other areas. Why? Because unlike other exports, pharmaceutical export can only be enhanced if government holds the hand of pharmaceutical industry. In order to get our product registered, we have to pass through a tedious process of investment in terms of that if we want to get our manufacturing plants recognized and certified, which should be in line with the international standard, our plants has to be inspected by the international teams of the relevant countries. We have to upgrade our manufacturing plants and equipment in line with the international standard. That involves lots of cost and revenues. So we have requested government to include Pakistan pharmaceutical industry into zero-rated segment, and we should be pay on JK duties and sales tax should be exempted, so that the pharmaceutical companies should be encouraged to invest and go for the export. Now, if that is done, and the other thing is for halal export, first of all, awareness is very important first of all within ourselves, because if we will increase our export and if we look forward to export to OIC countries, the first benefit we have that we are a Muslim countries, and it will be if our products are in line with the quality standards, international standards, we will be able to convince other countries to look for our products because we belong to a Muslim country. And what is needed? I think the first step is that the active formation and functioning of halal certifying bodies should be there. That should be the first step. Then we should be able to develop a halal traceability framework so that we are able to trace the sources. Then we have to establish the reference standards for both for medicines and medical devices, and we should be able to source halal raw materials from OIC countries, and in the second stage, when we are able to produce our own raw material, then we should be able to produce locally here as well. And finally, we should have a council within the umbrella of PMA, Pakistan Manufacturing Association of Pakistan, so that those companies who have interest and they can invest, they should collaborate under the umbrella of PMA, and we should look forward to encourage them from our platform, also through government, so that they are able to be able to export products outside Pakistan. So potential is tremendous. I think the first step is to recognize the potential, and I think there is a strong need to work on it, and that should be not only from government, from our side also.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your wonderful suggestions. Now I would like to request Mr. Abdul Jabbar Ato, Executive Director of Dream World Resort. You have seen the report, the current SGIE report. Muslims outbound travel, excluding Hajj and Umrah, globally is estimated $194 billion in 2019. Pakistan has had a very minuscule share of this. Post-COVID, how and where can Pakistan target these tourists from?
Yes, Pakistan can target it. Pakistan, alhamdulillah, is a very rich country in culture and adventures. We have a lot of lush green valleys, snow-capped mountains, historical places, but we have to go internationally in international media, print media, via social media, and we have to give our presentation in international tourism, so that we are also in inbound traffic. And Rafi Saab is also doing this business. So anyone here or in any part of the world can contact us. We are also doing a lot of halal tourism in our resort. Contacts of resorts to be increased. I think in this we can increase our share. International standard beaches to be increased, to increase this. Contacts of international standard hotels to be increased, to increase this our portion in the revenue.
Right. So thank you very much for your comments. Now I would like to request our last panelist for today's session, that is Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui. Ahmed sir, we are very lucky because Islamic finance, perhaps the most developed Islamic economy sector in Pakistan, with an estimated $27 billion in Islamic financial assets in 2019, Pakistan is ranked number 11 globally. What are the unique areas of opportunities for Pakistan to further expand Islamic financial ecosystem? You want to suggest about Sukuk, Islamic funds, retail banking, takaful, or what are the other segments that are the most promising going forward financial sector segments?
For Pakistan, the industry of Islamic finance is now over 3 trillion rupee industry. Just last year, this year that we are concluding, we have issued over 761 billion rupees of Sukuk, which is Islamic financial instrument, and the government is now taking more seriously Islamic finance. And I think this is an opportunity for us that this Sukuk market is not only attractive, but it also will spur the growth and financial inclusion in the country. So one of the focus area for probably 2021 is the Sukuk market, where the government can convert its conventional finance to Islamic. The private sector is now very active, and they are issuing like K Electric and other now big companies are now going towards Islamic finance and are tapping the Sukuk option of finance. The other area, very recently, Islamic Naya Pakistan certificate was launched by the government of Pakistan to encourage the investment of NFPs into Pakistan. So that is also a very attractive area, and we are expecting that the conventional will lag behind, and the Islamic certificate will be the majority within very few days. So this is and the third area that I feel is very attractive is the use of fintech. That Islamic finance must use the technology platforms. The report talks about tokenization of Sukuk and other startups that are coming up, and I think this is an area where we can combine the technology, Islamic finance. We can take the banking reach or banking penetration to every part of the country. And that will also contribute, because once people are connected to the formal channel, they can invest, they can take financing, they can contribute for the growth of finance. SMEs are coming up, they want Islamic finance, consumers want Islamic finance, these Rozgar schemes are also now designed. So if we see that, I see a lot of opportunities in majority areas, but I think the sukuk is one, the fintech is another area that is emerging, and the third emerging trend is the investment from the outside Pakistan, NRPs that are attracted to Pakistan, and they are now willing to invest in Pakistan. And just yesterday we had a meeting with the State Bank of Pakistan. Over 130 million probably US dollars were invested in the Islamic offering that the government has recently made. And it's just 2 months. We started it on 20th October. It's like November and December. So in 2 months, we are able to gather over 130 million US dollars. And I see the potential of this scheme going to $5 billion maybe by the end of next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed Saab. So with this, I would like to open the floor for Q&A. And on our online chat box, we have received many questions so far. And I would like to request Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui to answer these questions, because this is relevant to Islamic finance industry. Question asked by Mr. Azhar Aslam. That is basically for Dr. Ishad, but I am not sure Dr. Saab is here. So I can request Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui if he can answer. Regarding the role of Islamic banks in supporting the development and growth of halal economy in Pakistan.
Islamic banks, as I mentioned earlier, when you go for a halal certification, halal branding, one of the things is that your product is halal. But the other question that is normally asked now is your funding is halal or not. So if you are borrowing on interest or borrowing in an impermissible way, then people still have some doubts. So if you want to promote your business with a halal branding, so yes, your product has to be halal, but this concept is also now taking momentum that your funding sources has to be halal. So to make all your operations Sharia compliant, I think Islamic finance is that part that can help the industries to. And what I can say with a great confidence that today in Pakistan, Islamic finance has tools, has solutions, has products that can convert entire company's operations to Sharia compliant. You don't need to worry that now Islamic finance still don't have the solutions. We have all the solutions, we have all the tools, and a lot of companies have actually converted their businesses from the convention space to Islamic space. And recently, I was discussing over 400 companies on the Karachi Stock Exchange. They also qualified for on the Islamic index. So they are now shifting towards the Sharia compliant side. So Islamic finance is there, it can provide the working capital, the long-term capital, the finance that will fuel the growth for halal industry.
Thank you very much. Our next question is related to the food. This question is basically asked by Ahsan Sarwar. How can farmers of crops and livestock be involved in halal production to increase the volume of business? So I would like to request Mr. Mohammad Rafiq Rangoonwala, if you may like to answer. So I repeat the question. Ahsan Sarwar asked, how can farmers of crops and livestock be involved in halal production to increase the volume of business?
I'm not an expert in agriculture or livestock, but common sense thing is that different chemicals and fertilizers that we use. But then we need to make sure that there is no haram component involved in that one. Livestock, the same way we feed them. Are we feeding them the right things? I mean, if you look at the standards of kosher, this is one of the requirements, and it should be traceable. All these things. I mean, Europe has done a very good job in that even if the cologne and the perfumes that you use, they want to make sure that the ingredients are traceable. Like if you're using a rose, perfume, where is this rose coming from? What kind of chemicals were used on this the rose farms? So I think these are the basic things that we need to do. There is no rocket science to it.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. There is another question from Mr. Shoaib Khan. I will take 3 questions from online participants and then I will move forward to the audience. Yes. So another question from Mr. Shoaib Khan. Grateful, actually this is a comment also. Grateful to Dr. Ishrat Hussain for the reality check. I want to ask if having a robust regulatory framework can really serve for the global halal industry. Often halal products rely on forms of arbitrage to capture a niche market of pious Muslims. Beyond standardization, shouldn't the halal industry move towards eco-conscious practices of production and consumption to increase their market share, perhaps even beyond the Muslim world? Anybody from the panelists would like to answer?
I can do that.
Yes, sure.
You see, I mean, to have a uniform standard is very important. We need to know what the worldwide standard is and the requirement is. And that you can achieve a lot of that by certification. And that certification requires investment. And there has to be a body that all these certifying bodies should come under, or the companies should come under, and there has to be a universal standard for Pakistan, for example. And there's a lot of education that needs to be done, because a lot of people don't understand. Because when we say halal, the Pakistan is halal. You know, and when we talk about halal, we only talk about food. We don't talk about pharmaceutical products, for example. They can be halal. Cosmetics can be halal. So we need to do a lot of education, and obviously government has to get involved into this. The regulatory bodies has to, but to an extent, they should not get into the business of doing business. Okay, they should be there as a compliance, agencies. And one of the reasons why we are so behind, let me give an example of seafood. Pakistani seafood gets almost half of what Indian seafood gets in the international market in terms of prices, because we don't have the right boats, we don't have the right netting for those fishes, and we don't have proper supply chain or the cold chains behind that. So these things can be, it's a lot of work, okay? It's not going to happen overnight, but we have to start somewhere and someday.
Correct.
So I think if we do this, again, I said, I mean, if we get the right mindset and we understand the potential of a halal market, sky is the limit. I mean, we are not even 5 billion or trillions, for crying out loud.
You're absolutely right, sir. One more question that is from Tanzeem Hussain. It's quite relevant to the discussion right now. Alhamdulillah, we are Muslims, and the only thing which distinguishes us from non-Muslims is not just our beliefs, but also distinguish between halal and haram things. Then why OIC countries are not paying any concerned attention towards this issue, and why they are not entering in this trillion-dollar industry, not just to provide halal products to the Muslims over the world, and also to raise their economic well-being. So why the OIC countries are not focusing on this trillion-dollar industry? Yes, Rabia, why not?
Share the burden with you a little bit. Just generally speaking, so if we just step away from the concept of a halal economy, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure there are more experts here than myself. World over, everything comes down to a life cycle of an economy. When you look at how economies around the world take advantage of, for example, what the commenter previously said, labor arbitrage, or anything else, we see where the costs are the least. One of the main reasons why OIC countries aren't able to focus is because of government regulation or because of growing cost. Rafiq साहब ने एक example दिया कि वो मुर्गियाँ Egypt से मंगवाना चाहते थे, लेकिन वो कर नहीं पाए क्योंकि the cost was too high. Everything comes down to costs. Again, linking to the previous commenter, once you have regulation and framework, which is not just specific for Pakistan, but specific for a halal economy, a production economy, a manufacturing economy, then you can go ahead and try and increase whoever your consumer audience is. It doesn't have to be a Muslim you are selling to. As long as you have a correctly, an adequately, an honest, and an integrity, a production which is produced with integrity, then you can sell to anybody.
Thank you so much, Rabia, for your answer. Now I would like to open the floor for questions. Yes, Asasa, we have a question for you as well from one of the online participants.
Okay, I have quick comments and then question.
All right.
For PPMA, we have already established halal standards of Pakistan because you said we should have standard. We already have. What is missing is awareness in your industry to get certification, to implement the standard. Government can make the standard. We have the best halal pharmaceutical standards in the world existing, made by PSQCA, but the industry is not aware of them, and thus they're not getting certification. So this is one of the comments. And also for your information, there's a research done in Malaysia, and there's a book called Halal Index, the only halal Bible of pharmaceutical industry, which shows, which identifies the haram ingredients which are found in the everyday pharmaceutical, non-life-saving pharmaceutical, which we take. And that is very good awareness for your industry. For Mr. Jabbar, for the tourism, we have international standards established for halal tourism or Muslim-friendly tourism. And the countries which implement those standards are the ones which attract the tourists which are looking for Muslim. And then you have to implement and you have to brand. And give you an example, Thailand, which is known as a haram tourist destination generally, decided a few years ago to come into the halal sector. And I am involved in organizing 7 halal tourism conferences in Thailand in the last 7 years. So attracting Japan, Mount Fuji has got a prayer place, halal food, and the airport in Tokyo is attracting Muslim tourists by giving all facility for Muslims. This is how the entire country works together. For Mr. Rafiq Moonwala, sir, we have the best halal standards in the world for food developed by PSQCA. We do have the best halal accreditation by PNAC, Government of Pakistan, developed by them. What is missing is the awareness in the industry about the global halal market, as you rightly said, and the power of halal branding. So as you said, Rabia, cost, cheaper cost, standard implementation, and then branding. If we don't brand, nobody knows the goal which we have. Finally, I have a question for you, sir. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui Saab, is there any Islamic bank which is offering Islamic finance, halal finance, to develop the SME sector of Pakistan? That is what I see missing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Asad. Islamic finance, yes, Islamic finance, we are offering financing to SME clients. Now, and probably just if you talk about Mizan, we have 42 centers throughout Pakistan, or we call it hubs, where SME customers can go and can obtain financing. So Islamic finance is very much in SME. Yes, there are a few challenges of documentation, not able to maintain the correct books. We want our customers to buy officially, sell officially, and then the people sometimes shy away that we don't want to do in this in an official manner. And these are the challenges which is not only faced by Islamic Bank, but there is probably a national challenge of documentation. But the tools exist, the product exists, the financing for short term, for long term, for construction of warehouse, office, factory, for buying raw material, for selling raw material, for exporting, for importing. All of these facilities are now available in Islamic finance, and I can say in many markets. I know, like in Faisalabad market and in Karachi's Jodia Bazaars, we have seen a significant number of these SMEs, which are probably not well organized, but they are working with Islamic finance. So this needs to further enhance. And the challenges of awareness is also with Islamic finance. Like you mentioned, the standard awareness is not there. The awareness of how Islamic finance work is still a challenge, and this is one of the objective or the target of centers like this IBA-CEIF and other industry, that we need to educate, we need to create awareness, and I think this goes for all of the segments of halal, that we need to create awareness, we need to train them, and then people will come inshallah.
Thank you very much, Ahmed sir. Takir sir, you want to add something?
I would like to add to your comment. I think globally the trend is changing towards nutraceuticals as well. So besides curative medication, many countries and globally and also in OIC countries as well. So there is a shift towards nutraceutical and food supplements. And also in Pakistan, lots of our leading manufacturing facilities, they have dedicated area for nutraceuticals, cosmetology, as herbal products as well. So getting these products certified and registered outside Pakistan is easier compared to normal pharmaceutical medicines, number one. Number two, these products include lots of raw materials which are very sensitive in terms of halal or haram. That comes capsules and vitamins, minerals. So lots of ingredients are found, and Muslims are more concerned about the ingredients of such products. So since we have lots of units now in Pakistan, I think we should look into the possibility of exploring this route to enter in OIC countries where we can offer high quality nutraceuticals, food supplements, and also cosmetology, which is cosmetics products as well. So this is one of the areas which needs to be explored. Secondly, I think potential यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा है. Support जो है ना, जैसे आप कह रहे थे कि हमें भी as a association we should also explore and identify the potential. आप लोगों की support भी चाहिए, government की भी support चाहिए, लेकिन ये करने से होगा. वो जैसे कहते हैं ना कि खुद ब खुद टूट के गिरती नहीं जंजीर कभी, बदली जाती है बदलती नहीं तकदीर कभी. So we have to look into this और अपनी तकदीर बदलने के लिए हमें इस शोबे में भी आगे आना पड़ेगा.
बहुत खूबसूरत, बहुत आला Takir sir. Thank you very much for your comment. And now I would like to request Rafiq sir, you want to add something?
Just a quick comment. We've been talking a lot about OIC. Just taking a little credit from सितारों से आगे जहां और भी हैं. OIC is just a small percentage of the halal market. We need to not limit our horizon. We need to think globally. And to be honest with you, I have found it's a lot easier to do business outside OIC countries, especially when it comes to export. Okay, so I think we need to think big so we can see the opportunity the way it is, and then we should have a proper plan and strategy with all the stakeholders involved. Begin with the investor, the business houses, and inshallah, I think to cross 10-20 billion is not a big deal at all. We are less than 5 billion. I think we have not crossed 5 billion so far, as I know.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to just read one comment from online. Yes. Then I will come back to you because we are exceeding our time limit. So one comment made by Dr. Muhammad Ijaz Sandhu. I don't want to leave our online participants alone. So this is why Samin is there, and I'm also reading their comment and question. Congratulations to organizers for holding such informative session. In 2010, we launched Pakistan Halal Research Council, and unfortunately, $1 trillion halal industry, Pakistan's share is negligible. We should also use the blockchain technology for effectiveness of halal food export. Kindly highlight what government is planning to extend support to private sector. So the support to private sector is basically discussed by Dr. Ishaq as well, and also Mr. Ahmad Ali Siddiqui and our Takir Sahab also mentioned briefly about that. So the question was asked to if Mr. Asad can answer this question. We will come back to Mr. Asad, but there is another question I would like to read together. The question is from Mr. Ghulam Shabir Sahab. Is it just a matter of registering oneself as halal company? Because I wonder there are lots and lots of companies in food sector which may be offering halal food content, but maybe not interested in registering as halal. Is low level of registration also one of the factors responsible for low number of halal sector in Pakistan? Kindly enlighten. So Asad sir, very quickly.
This is the answer is in the question. He's talking about registration. He means certification. Basically, low awareness means low certification number, and because we are not certified,
So we don't also brand ourselves. A lot of companies who certify, but they put a small logo on, teeny mini logo on the backside. So the consumers, the customers do not know. We have to certify our products as halal, and then we have to brand our products halal, and we have to use the power of halal logo in front. It helps sales.
Thank you so much, Asad Saab. I would like to request Khwaja Nurul Hassan Saab. You want to ask a question? Yes, Khwaja Nurul Hassan Saab.
Yes, Assalamualaikum. Basically, just want to share our appreciation to IBA-CEIF and Mr. Hamdani Siddiqui, Dr. Shah, and Lord Russell. Great session, great initiative. I think the missing point is that collaboration is missing. Different people, different industry, different companies are performing well, performing in halal perspective as well. But these are not reflecting these reports. We have different sectors evolved in Pakistan doing work. Pharmaceutical companies are doing work. Green World is doing work, but that is not reflecting in our as a presence. So I think collaboration is very necessary, and as IBC have needed this role. So if we all collaborated in different industries, and like Hamdani Siddiqui also mentioned that product is halal, but the funding should also be halal. And on this base, we at Standard Chartered are also working with a brand of Halal 360-degree, in which we are promoting and convincing the customer to avail halal financing as well for the halal products. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khwaja Nurul Hassan Saab. Last question from our female participant present over here. Ji, please.
Ji, बहुत शुक्रिया. I was really appreciating everybody's comments, and I found it very informative. I am Mehdi Nilahi, and I am the president for Karachi Women's Chamber. मैं तौकीर साहब और मिस्टर रफीक रंगूनवाला से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि हमारी जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं उनको it's important that we train them also. The women are very interested in the food sector business. तो उनकी ट्रेनिंग के लिए भी हमें कुछ चीजें करनी चाहिए. We have to put it in place. How they can help us. Tawqir Sahab se, from the point of halal cosmetics, I'd like to request that if there is something that you might be exploring in the future, या आप लोग इसमें कुछ काम कर रहे हैं, how we can collaborate on this, and if and when the certifications come in place, how we can proceed towards that, because this is a sector which needs to be explored, and there are a number of women who some are already in it, but we need to develop many more among the emerging entrepreneurs. तो मेरी ये राय है कि इस पे जरा अगर हम इनसे भी कमेंट्स ले लें और कुछ हमें mentorship मिल जाए, commitment मिल जाए, so that be wonderful.
I just wanted to thank you, Ms. Mehreen Ilahi, President, Women's Chamber, Karachi East. First of all, we are very happy that you are here, because female participation in such event is always encouraged. Definitely, I appreciate the presence of our male colleagues as well, but I really appreciate that you are here and you are participating. So over to Tawqir Sahab now.
I think you are absolutely right. Training and development is very, very important, because this area needs to be, first we have to understand the potential, and then training and development is also very important. And as far as you were talking about the cosmetics, and as I already explained, that there are lots of good companies who have started not only manufacturing the cosmetics, but also different type of creams and ointments for the skin products, which also include lots of ingredients which should be halal. उसमें आप ये देख रही होंगी कि मॉइस्चराइजिंग क्रीम्स हैं, इसके साथ साथ जो है सन ब्लॉक्स हैं, और बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें जो हमने एक्सपोर्ट करनी शुरू की हैं कंपनीज में. तो yes.
Can I add here a company which has recently started exports, I think on a small scale, like Said Ghani, जो काफी चीजें इस तरह की बना रहे हैं from herbal products, and that I think falls into the parameters of being halal. Because we are using saffron, we are using local ingredients जो हमारी available है आसानी से. तो मतलब हम इन चीजों को भी लेके आगे जा सकते हैं इन एज अ हलाल, जैसे आपने कहा कि मुख्तलिफ कंट्रीज OIC में इन चीजों की अलाउ कर रही है रिपोर्ट, तो सोचा जा सकता है
And this will bring, you know, lots of opportunities for females to for employment. You know, जिस तरह की एक्सपोर्ट बढ़ती है तो कॉस्मेटोलॉजी में बहुत सारी फीमेल्स के लिए एम्प्लॉयमेंट जो है वो ये चीज लेके आएगी. And one more thing lastly, that for example in herbal products, one of our company Herbion is the leading exporter to OIC countries. और अगर आप वहाँ जाएं, रशिया कहीं भी जाएं, आपको हर जगह पे बड़ा दिल खुश होता है कि पाकिस्तान की हर्बल प्रोडक्ट्स जो है वहाँ it is available at every pharmacy. So start हो चुका है, आगाज हो चुका है, तो we have to, you know, go along with ये ड्रीम है, इंशाल्लाह we will be able to. और यहाँ जो आप मैं नाम भूल के ऊपर आप जो बैठे हैं उन्होंने जो कहा कोलैबोरेशन चाहिए, and that approach should, you know, bring lots of opportunities and revenues for the country.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iqbal.
इनकी कमेंट्स में मिल जाए तो साहब जगह जी जरूर सेक्टर.
Again, I mean, they're always willing to help out as Pakistan Food Association and as an individual as well. Cosmetics, Musarat Misbah jo hai, she's a very famous lady entrepreneur. I think she's been working on it for the last few years. So maybe you can contact her and get some learnings from her as well. और food के अंदर तो बहुत opportunities हैं अभी. I think we're just scratching the surface even in Pakistan, especially जो frozen food है with the changing of lifestyle, where you have, you know, people, more than one person working in the household, ladies getting involved into the in helping out the family economically and financially. तो ये सब चीजों में बहुत opportunity है. इसलिए मैंने शुरू में ही कहा था कि basic problem हमारी understanding और knowledge की है. हमें अंदाजा ही नहीं है कि कितना बड़ा business है और इसके क्या trillions of dollars जो हैं ये दुनिया इस पे कारोबार कर रही है. और दूसरों ने जो हालात पे बिलीव नहीं करते इस चीज को समझ लिया हमसे बहुत पहले, और हम लोगों की समझ में अभी तक नहीं आया. I can say this with a lot of confidence कि हम लोग अभी तक नहीं समझ पाए इसको, तो इसको समझने की बहुत जरूरत है. Training is very important.
Training is important, and maybe we can hold a couple of seminars.
Yep,
it's part of it.
Just I'd like to add here that IBA-CEIF का ये platform where I think we can help all of you out.
Okay.
We have done trainings for like women entrepreneurs in the past on Islamic finance. हमारे halal पे awareness sessions हुए हैं, cosmetics पे, foods पे, और हम इस तरह के industry experts को बुला सकते हैं. तो if there is a serious interest, do let us know and we will definitely
I think I can take you up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Before closing this session, there are two important points that I want to share. One is from the online participants because we want to take them along. So we have a very liked comment from one of the online participants. And the comment is, during a recent interaction with the Federation of Pakistan Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I realized that the businesses in Pakistan are just looking up to the government for providing market surveys and consumer trends from around the globe in order to consider export options. This might not be possible due to limited government resources. I would tend to believe that businesses should have their own market research systems to explore export opportunities in non-traditional regions like Africa and South America. What is the panel's opinion on this aspect? Tawheed sir. This is from Mr. Ahmed Shakil.
If you look at your neighboring countries like Bangladesh and India, government ने उनका हाथ पकड़ा है, and they have provided, you know, consistent policies, incentivized policies for export and, you know, market research as well. So जब तक जो है वो entrepreneurs या companies will never be able to be confident enough जब तक कि consistent policies और government की तरफ से support ना हो. I think single-handedly नहीं किया जा सकता, वही collaboration government से चाहिए. उसके बगैर it is not possible for private sector to, you know, just go and invest without having confidence in terms of, you know, consistent policies and incentivized approach and policies from the government.
Rafiq sir want to add?
मैं इनके साथ एक हद तक तो एग्री करता हूँ, लेकिन मेरा ख्याल है कि हमारी गवर्नमेंट पे ये तकिया करके इंतजार करना है कि वो सब करके देंगे, ये I think daydreaming, it's wishful thinking. Yes, they need to play their part. बांग्लादेश की आज एक्सपोर्ट जो जहाँ पहुंची हुई है, उनकी गवर्नमेंट का बहुत बड़ा रोल है. मैंने आपको ब्राजील का बताया, यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स के अंदर जो है कितना हेल्प करती है गवर्नमेंट एक्सपोर्ट इंडस्ट्री को, वो अपनी जगह पे. लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. As business, houses, entrepreneurs, as associations, हमें भी कुछ initiatives लेने हैं, हमें भी काम करना है इसके ऊपर कि हम इतने बड़े पैमाने पे नहीं कर सकते, हम legislation नहीं फॉर्म कर सकते, हमारे बस के नहीं है, हमारा मैंडेट है. लेकिन एटलीस्ट हम सर्वेज और रिसर्चेस तो करा सकते हैं ना.
Yes.
ठीक है ना. हम जैसे ये जो अभी रिपोर्ट आएगी कि इस रिपोर्ट को ही हम लोगों के अंदर शेयर करें ताकि लोगों को समझ में आए कि क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है. और मैं आपको बताऊं तो बहुत से लोग जो है एक्सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं, उनको पता ही नहीं है कि जिस मुल्क में वो एक्सपोर्ट करना चाहते हैं उसका पोटेंशियल है कि भी नहीं. उनका कंपटीशन कौन है वहां पे, कहाँ से है, वो लोग किस रेट पे बेच रहे हैं. तो हम जब वहाँ मार्केट में जाते हैं तो we are like babes lost in the boat.
Correct.
Respect.
Thank you very much. We have brother Riaz Andy over here. So yes, brother.
अहमद, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट की बात हो रही है तो काइंडली आप भी ये बताएं कि स्टेट बैंक कितना कंड्यूसिव एनवायरनमेंट देता है. जब आप इस्लामी प्रोडक्ट की बात करते हैं तो इट्स बेसिकली प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस शेयरिंग है बेसिकली. लेकिन आई बिलीव कि वहाँ भी कुछ रिस्ट्रिक्शंस है कि एक लिमिट तक आप जा सकते हैं, उससे आगे नहीं जा सकते. इज इट सो? और क्या उन्हें भी अपनी पॉलिसी को रिवाइव या रिव्यू करना चाहिए ना?
देखिए, दो पार्ट्स हैं. करंटली स्टेट बैंक ऑफ पाकिस्तान का अब जो ओवर द टाइम जो इवॉल्व हुई है इस्लामिक फाइनेंस, तो एक अच्छी चीज ये हुई है कि अब कोई भी स्टेट बैंक की अब रीफाइनेंस स्कीम आएगी तो वो इस्लामिक वर्जन के साथ आएगी, which is something which was not there. और हमें कोई 10 साल 5 साल का इंतजार करना पड़ता था. और अभी जैसे अभी कोविड के हवाले से बहुत सारी स्कीम स्टेट बैंक ने इंट्रोड्यूस की, लॉन्ग टर्म शॉर्ट टर्म बहुत दो रेट पे, तो इसका इस्लामिक वर्जन साथ साथ आया. और दूसरी बात थोड़ा सा मैं से तस्दीक कर दूं कि इस्लामिक फाइनेंस में प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस भी है और ट्रेडिंग भी है, रेंटल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट भी है. ये सब इस्लामिक फाइनेंस के डोमेन में ही आते हैं. तो इस्लामिक फाइनेंस के डिपेंडिंग ऑन द बिजनेस नेचर आप कहीं ट्रेडिंग करते हैं, कहीं रेंटल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करते हैं और कहीं प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस करते हैं. एक अच्छी चीज अभी और होने वाली है उसका मैं बता दूं कि स्टेट बैंक ने एक ड्राफ्ट लॉ इस्लामिक बैंकिंग के लिए, क्योंकि अब तक जो हमारा बैंकिंग कंपनी ऑर्डिनेंस है वो एक तरह से उसमें कन्वेंशनल इस्लामिक का एक कुछ मिक्सचर है, तो एक सेपरेट इस्लामिक बैंकिंग लॉ का एक चैप्टर उन्होंने उसका ड्राफ्ट लोड किया है. तो ये आ जाएगा तो इंशाल्लाह और उसको लीगल कवरेज मिलेगी. एंड ऑब्वियसली वी नीड टू फर्दर मूव अहेड. अभी ऑब्वियसली काम करने को भी बहुत है, लेकिन एटलीस्ट स्टेट बैंक में एक हमें पॉजिटिविटी नजर आती है. एक उनका इस्लामिक डिपार्टमेंट को सपोर्ट कर रहा है. वहाँ पे शरिया स्कॉलर्स, अब शरिया बोर्ड में मुफ्ती इरशाद साहब यहाँ पे मौजूद हैं, चेयरमैन शरिया बोर्ड ऑफ स्टेट बैंक. तो अब हमें काफी सपोर्ट नजर आती है स्टेट बैंक.
Thank you so much, Ahmed sir. One question from the online participant, Ms. Rabia Asma Shehu. Why are we not looking into Pakistani serials being translated into Turkish? So, Rabia, over to you.
It's a problem of Pakistani content itself. अगर आप पुराने ज़माने की content देख लें, for example, तन्हाइयाँ थी, the golden era of PTV, वही आप लेकर और मुख्तलिफ ज़बानों में translate कर लें, एक process होता है. And again, I said it all has to do with trying to figure out how to get the budget to get onto those distribution channels. This is all about licensing, it's all about money. लेकिन एक बात जरूर बताते चलो, हम सब products और services के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. अगर आप मीडिया पर especially बच्चों के content और मजहबी content को सही तरीके से brand नहीं करेंगे, you will not just lose out on your language or culture, you will also lose out on the kind of preservation for your religion that you need. And if you don't invest in these things now, as we have been investing, you will lose out on all of these things. फिर आप civic sense or OIC or बाकी सारी चीजें, nothing will really matter because up until you don't have that preservation of these things digitally.
Thank you so much, Rabia. We have international audience watching the launch of this report in Pakistan. So for our international audience, we have to speak in English. Before ending this session, I can go long and long because we have so many questions and interest from the audience. I would like to request Brother Rafiuddin to say a few closing remarks, and then I have to request Mufti Ishad Ahmed Ijaz, who is Chairman Sharia Advisory Committee of State Bank of Pakistan, to say closing remarks. So over to you, Brother Rafiuddin.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iram, first of all, for a very well moderated session. I've been keenly listening to all of our esteemed panelists' comments. Mr. Rangoonwala, Ms. Rabia, Garib, Mr. Taqir al-Haq, Mr. Rathod, Mr. Ali Siddiqui. I think your views are very, covering this space, ladies and gentlemen, for now over 12 years, advising many governments, OIC and non-OIC, to actually execute and realize the benefit. And I think, as Ms. Rabia, you were saying, pointing to the wider social relevance of this opportunity, this is not all dollars and cents. I know the report highlights a lot of the economic opportunity, which is obviously, if we can't benefit from the economic opportunity, then how can we also have a social sustainability aspect? The report highlights the importance of halal and tayyib as a global proposition where halal and tayyib are bringing good to the world through sustainable practices, to ethical values. When we look at Islamic finance, ultimately it's justice, equity-based financing. So I think it was very refreshing to hear. What I would say is that in the last 12 years, we have certainly been considering Pakistan very much behind the game. And I think Mr. Rafiq Rangoonwala, you rightly pointed out that the opportunity is being taken by the rest of the world. In fact, more so by the non-OIC worker. Hamabi, we're still trying to grapple what is this. In fact, just kind of unnecessarily debating things when really realizing this as an opportunity. So it's very refreshing to hear your emphasis on the mindset aspect. I also agree with many of your comments that, and also Mr. Asad, our partner who helped us organize this event in Pakistan, that a lot of the government support is in fact there. I would say the private sector has to do more, personally, if I may add to it. And I think that will take us to the actually, in fact, helping the government to further support. It's a cycle. So I think I also appreciated the comments from Mr. Taqir al-Haq about, and I got the Urdu share. My Urdu is a bit weak, but I think we have to take the steps also as a private sector entities and really go out in the market. I mean, today in the digital economy, you don't really need too much of government support beyond, I think, what we already have. So thank you again, and it's an honor for DinarStandard to be contributing to this conversation and hopefully helping push the needle forward. Pakistan has a good base. I mean, let's also acknowledge the good, and while we acknowledge the challenges and gaps, which is Islamic finance, Pakistan is a leading player. Halal food, you're a leading exporter already, and you have a strong food and agriculture base. And then so much to go, only 1% of exports already. So there's so much good promise, no question. So hopefully with our partners in Pakistan, we hope to continue, and we are here to help support building the awareness. And I think that would be the operative word now, is building awareness within the private sector industry to inshallah help move the needle. Thank you, everyone, from my side. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Brother Rafiuddin. Thank you so much, the person, the team, the leader behind the report. So we are very happy to have you, to listen from you. Now I would like to request Mufti Ishad Ahmed Ijaz Sahab, Chairman Sharia Advisory Committee of State Bank of Pakistan, Chairman Sharia Board of Bank Islami, and he is doing phenomenal work in several institutions. So please, sir, come on stage and say a few words for the total.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I think these type of seminar and conferences are very important. When I have a discussion on this topic, I generally say there are 5 very important segments that we see awareness and movement in this ummah. The first is Islamic finance, including all financial institutions, Takaful and Islamic banks, non-banking financial institution, funds, real estate investment trust. This is the first segment. The second segment is halal industry. including pharmaceutical, food, and tourism and other things. And the third very important segment is media. Now there are efforts for running the media on Islamic principle and to produce programs that meet Islamic requirement. And the fourth area is Islamic education also, Islamic schools and other universities. And the fourth is philanthropic management on Islamic principle. We have zakat and we have a lot of sadaqat and atiyat in Islamic industry. But unfortunately, we do not have any management. I have read a report in 2016 or 17 that around $20 billion zakat is produced in Gulf, but we don't have any system to use it or in capital production purposes. We have only consumption models. This is the fifth area that we are working, especially in Turkey. We have very good studies on Waqf model and management of these. So I think this awareness is very good, and this seminar, and especially I agree with all the panelists that we have potential, but we are in discussion of very basic things. We have discussion in our societies, in TV programs, in articles, and we have discussion and debates on matters which are not settled. For example, paper currency and halal haram, how much is permissible, how much is not permissible, things like that. I think these issues are settled now. And lastly, we have at least 4 stakeholders in any society. One is consumers, beneficiaries. Second, regulators. Third, those who are executioners, practitioners. And fourth is those who are working on academic side. I mean, university scholars and the thinkers. So if we have collaboration of all these 4, and in collaboration, for example, in practitioners, as rightly recommended by Mufti Khaja Noor Shah and endorsed by our panelists, that this is very important to have collaboration among practitioners and participants, so that we will be having very good environment, very good systematic effort. So I congratulate IBA for having this type of a very good seminar. And this is, as Brother Ahmed Ali Siddiq has rightly said, IBA participating in this Islamic finance and halal industry. Already they are participating. Similarly, they are working on women entrepreneurship and areas which belong to prosperity of Pakistan and Ummah. So I congratulate them and I wish them all the best, and thank you very much.
With this, it will be injustice if I don't say thanks to number of people, especially the IBA-CEIF team, who really worked very hard to make sure we have a smooth online participation and also the physical representation of different institutions. So I would like to appreciate Faisal Wakar and Mr. Zia Khalid Saab, of course, under the patronage of Mr. Ahmed Ali Siddiqui, who really made this event very successful. And then the leader of this report, Brother Rafiuddin, his team, Samin, who was working online, Mr. Asad, who was working day and night also to make sure that everything goes well, and especially the panelists. But last, not least, the audience who are present here physically, all the banks, Faisal Bank Islami, Standard Chartered, Mizan Bank. I want to appreciate all the businessmen who are present over here, Pakistan Chamber of Commerce, especially the FPCCI committee, KCCI, all of them are present over here. And this shows that how serious they are in order to promote halal industry, not only halal food, halal industry, halal ecosystem. With this, thank you very much to all the panelists. I would like to request you for a group photo, and the audience, we are going to have lunch at 11th floor. Once again, I end today's session with the prayer that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our families from COVID-19 and all the other unforeseen diseases. May we have all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on us and with our families and friends and the people who are present over here physically and online. With this, we would like to end today's session. Thank you very much, everybody.